This is the library in Woods Hole. I'm going to take you on a quick tour of Woods Hole. Entrance to Woods Hole, that's the bank. Now we're looking down the main street. That's the post office there. And then looking further on, we're going to be moving into the main street of Woods Hole. Office, little bookstore. And looking further down is toward the Woods Hole Bridge. Woods Hole, which date back from the 1800s. Here is one just on the way in to Woods Hole proper. It's called Crowell House. It's called School Street. This is where the Woods Hole School is, and we'll just walk up there briefly and see what the school looks like. School, which houses the Children's School of Science during the summer months. This is where Jonathan and Alexa took their science school courses. Which backs on the laboratory. We'll just take a panoramic view. There's the bell tower from the church. It has two bells called Mendel, and I think Darwin is the other one. Now we're looking toward the laboratory. You'll see the dining facility. This is the new mess hall right there. There's another dormitory, laboratory, marine biological laboratory. Another laboratory building. And there's the main building, so-called Lily Lab of the Marine Biological Laboratory. And that small group of wooden structures consists of some of the loading docks and the collecting department of the laboratory. Just focus in a little bit on that. And then as we pan around, we will see the steeple of the Oceanographic Institution. And just to the left there, you can just barely begin to see where the Woods Hole Bridge would be located. Lovely wooden buildings dating from the 1800s. These buildings now belong to the Oceanographic Institution, where we get our morning newspaper. And this is the main street of Woods Hole, looking toward the Captain Kidd, the Old Town Hall, the Fishmonger Restaurant. Lots of traffic crossing the bridge that goes over the eel pond. Street of Woods Hole, looking toward the eel pond and the marine biological. The eel pond, getting closer to Woods Hole and the laboratory. The Black Duck Restaurant, people having breakfast this morning. And then we'll come upon the Woods Hole Bridge. This is the only entrance in and out of the eel pond, so that every boat that has to go into the eel pond has to have the bridge raised up. Ferry going out to Martha's Vineyard from the view of the eel pond bridge. In 1879, you'll see this marker says Woods Hole, which is probably the original name of this little town. The famous drinking place for the laboratory workers, Main Street of Woods Hole, many bicyclists, and in the far distance you'll see the candle house, which used to be where spermaceti candles were made in the 1800s. This was a whaling village, probably like most of the villages on the east coast of the United States. Now Woods Hole is the center of three famous scientific institutions: the Marine Biological Laboratory, the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, and the fisheries, U.S. Fisheries and Wildlife. It used to be called Ending Sicknesses. Marine Railways, now site for selling tourists. Small building that belongs to Oceanographic. And now we'll look down toward the Candle House, which now houses the administration for the Woods Hole Marine Biological Laboratory, which houses the center of the social activities at Marine Biological Laboratory. And this is now looking into the Vineyard Sound, Martha's Vineyard in the distance, seawall, lots of little boats, people just sunning themselves, sitting and enjoying the lovely cool air. Now we're looking toward the Whitman Laboratory, that's the gray building in the distance, and the edge of the Lilly Laboratory, which also houses the library. Back at the bridge, which is now going up to permit a boat to go through. This hole is rather quiet. You can see the fisheries building. People just sitting out, sunning themselves, reading the newspaper. There's the crane sundial. And here we are looking into Vineyard Sound. Peaceful, quiet. This little beach that we're going to look at now is called Garbage Beach for obvious reasons. It borders on Vineyard Sound and is closest to the laboratory. We used to collect a number of marine invertebrates here when I was an instructor in the course. And there's the fisheries building. Down the main street of the Marine Biological Laboratory. This is the Whitman Laboratory, which is used only in the summertime. And then off to the right is the main building, so-called Lilly Lab, which houses laboratories and, in addition, the library where I spend most of the summer. It's a lovely old building. The Lilly building. This is the logo of the laboratory, showing the seahorses, the trident of Neptune, and a variety of animals. Most of the library occupies that wing off to the left. It's a rather extensive library. When I was a student here in 1957, this grassy area was occupied by an old wooden laboratory called Old Main, and most of the courses were taught in Old Main. It's been recently refurbished and made into a lovely sitting area. Now that's the center of the camp. It's occupied, as I've indicated, by Old Main. It's now a grassy area. You see the tennis courts in the distance. And the teaching laboratory was replaced by this laboratory, which is called LURB. All of the courses are pretty much taught in LURB. We're looking toward the dormitory, the invertebrate zoology laboratory, or it once was. Typical laboratory with running seawater, microscopes, now mostly neurophysiology is taught here. Lovely new laboratory. These are used as dormitories. I've lived in this dormitory. Had my bed stolen in this laboratory, this dormitory. And Velia and I and the children have lived in the brick dormitory. In fact, right in those rooms. So you can see the view from some of the rooms in the dormitory overlook the eel pond of the new dining and dormitory facility called Swope. And this is right on the edge of the eel pond, which I think is one of the most beautiful and picturesque parts of Woods Hole. You see that the eel pond is full of lovely small boats. And of course, the supply department also borders on the eel pond, so that fresh marine animals can be brought in and distributed to the various laboratories. Here's the back of the Lilly building.
See you later.
Bye.
Nice to see you.
That's the supply department. Here are the desks set up for individual readers. You notice that the desks are in the stacks. So everybody has a reserved desk, has what they require, and here they sit in quiet solitude, writing and reading. The desk looks over the eel pond. Lovely scenes. The laboratory collects dogfish, squid, and other invertebrates. Here's the old supply department called now Marine Resources. And now we're looking toward the candle house, which used to store specimens when they used to have a preserved specimen collection that they used to ship out to various colleges and universities. It takes us out home past all of the dormitories and the small cottages that the laboratory owns. Very convenient service, makes the run every half hour to and from the laboratory. Reduces the traffic in Woods Hole, which can be rather fierce. Down Water Street, going toward the Woods Hole Bridge. Hey, looking across the bridge, one of the famous pastimes here is just sitting on the wall, relaxing. The Landfall Restaurant, right on the water, where you can watch the ferries leave from Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket. Here's the ferry dock, and there's the North Shore ferry, ready Martha's Vineyard up in Nantucket. You see there's a car ferry. It's an extensive parking lot here. The Woods Hole Garage wakes up my car every summer. Hi, John. Post office. Library. And now we're looking toward the main road, which takes us out to where our house is hole. We can see lots of bed and breakfast places, motels, but most fantastic scenery is to look across Little Harbor toward Martha's Vineyard. Walks into Woods Hole, one has this marvelous vista of the vineyard and of this plank roared right built house on Juniper Point. The Woods Hole, not only the library and the scientific parts, but of the beaches. Here's a lovely beach, not the best day here, of Knobska Beach, where we spend usually Sunday mornings if it's nice. Lovely lighthouse, and it overlooks Vineyard Sound. So there's Martha's Vineyard, off in the distance, off from Martha's Vineyard. This is Stony Beach in Woods Hole. It's a short walk from the laboratory to this beach, which is owned by the Marine Biological Laboratory. It's called Stony Beach because the original beach had many rocks. Sand was brought in, and now it's a lovely sandy beach. That's New Bedford in the distance. Eve Warren. Delia. Ann Weissman reading the New York Times.
We are in our typical poses. Hands in the tennis, togs.
A lot of the settings are for Mr. Phyllis and Gail. You go through like that.
This is the house of Ann and Jerry Weissman, overlooking Buzzards Bay. Closer, closer, closer.
Yes.
Very nice. It's another view of the eel pond with the eel pond bridge just going up. View of the Captain Kidd, some of the boats in the eel pond, the oceanographic, supply department of the Marine Biological Laboratory, the Lilly Lab, the town dock, some of the dormitories, and the dining and dormitory facility swope of the Marine Biological Laboratory. It's a gorgeous day in Woods Hole today. There's the Eel Pond Bridge going down. Children's School of Science. That's Heilbronn House, where the famous biologist L.V. Heilbronn lived. Another view of the eel pond. This is Nopska Beach on a very beautiful day. Usually we spend Sundays, Saturdays here. House on Juniper Point. A view of the islands. Small ferry. Martha's Vineyard, about 5 miles from Woods Hole. The beach is dominated by this Coast Guard lighthouse called the Nopska Light. The Little Mermaid of Nopska Beach. Let's just walk down here, see where the house is. It's a little area that was developed by a man named Riley, who used to build houses during the winter time, sell them off at about $5,000 a lot, but he had to do the contracting. And the house off to the right is our house, which was built in 1970 from plans that Villa had designed on a piece of graph paper. And Mr. Riley was able to build the house from those plans. It's a lovely and very comfortable house. Not too many families on this street. You can see our sign waving in the breeze. There's a pond across the road, which can't be seen behind these trees, but can be seen from our upper window. The rest of the road consists of a house from Shelley Siegel. Then a little bit further on is the house of Salvador Luria, the Nobel laureate. And beyond that, on the left-hand side, the house of the Isselbachers. Alexa and Mommy at home in the kitchen of our house. Hello, Tuppy. How are you?
Red light flashing on the front.
That's supposed to be.
Oh, it is.
Alexa, why don't you turn around? You'll be on television. Just quickly say hi.
Hi.
Oh.
Lexi and Mommy making turkey tips and memory.
Today is July 4th, and we will be looking at the July 4th parade. But before we begin the parade, here's just another view of the eel pond on July 4th, 1984.
So they're here too?
Preparations for the July 4th parade.
What are you doing?
I'm photographing the July 4th parade for posterity.
Is it a video cassette?
Yes, it is.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Say hi, Dick.
Wow, that's quite a setup.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, that's perfect. Come on, walk with her. Come on, I have a sign for you.
Here's Gene Roth.
Hello, how are you? Oh my God. You have some interest in the parade? Yeah. I'll see you at the other end.
Okay.
That's right, there's no band.
You forgot their pants, that's good. And we'll lift up their shirts. That's right. Okay?
All right.
Men can drop the pants, the women lift their shirts. Okay.
Laura is a month older than Beth.
But she was born 3.5 months early, so she's really a month or two younger.
You got here so fast.